other times, and I just don't know how or where to start. But as I am driving up to Oregon to see my friend Crystal, I found myself oh man, I'm gonna cry already. Found myself driving through Susanville, and oh man, Susanville and Bogard, and it was kind of a big trigger for me that I wasn't expecting and didn't necessarily think was gonna happen. I had like a whole part of my life that was attached to that place, in a weird way. When Cody and I met, he was working at the Eagle Lake Forest Service Station, and was staying in Bogard a lot, had an apartment in Susanville. I don't know, it was like kind of confusing. I don't think he really was up front about the whole situation, because then sometimes he would like live at his parents' house. I don't know. In any event, it brought back some like really hard memories of like I don't know, like my brain is very confused. Like, am I can't decide why I can't remember some of the bad things, like really bad things. I can only remember like how I felt when things were good, and how no matter like how bad things got, I always felt like we would be together forever, and I couldn't imagine
so in my online search for
my life with
what day this week or next would look good for me, taking it
him in it. That's like a really confusing feeling, because he
gonna be getting together next week on Wednesday, March 31st.
was so terrible
bit of a show to raise support
for a long time, long time. And then I finally got to the point where I just
the show is being called altogether
couldn't handle it anymore, and so the only thing I could think to do, I guess, or the reaction that I had, was to be terrible back. And that's really sad, because it makes me question if we ever even really loved each other. Because how do you treat somebody you love so much so bad? I'm not really sure. So I mean, gosh, it wasn't that long ago I was sitting in his apartment begging him to give us another try, and it was like a hard no, and he had no hesitation with that. It was very easy for him to give it a hard no, and then blame it on that he would, oh, that's cute, never be able to trust me. And he couldn't do that to himself because of what I did. And I've always really struggled with that because it's like there isn't a complete understanding on his end for what he did. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, everybody in my life that I've shared our story with completely understands why I did what I did in having an affair. They don't agree with it. They don't like it. It wasn't the right choice to make by any means. It's not justified in any way. But it's understood given everything that I was going through. So I guess I can understand why he doesn't feel that way, and that's okay. But I think for the rest of my life, I'm just always going to be searching for closure with what he did, and I need to figure out, and I mean, you always see these quotes about like how great it is to forgive somebody for something that they never even apologized for. And that's a hard one. I don't really know how to do it. And he has apologized on multiple occasions, to his credit. But while he apologized, he didn't take full responsibility for what it did to me and the boys, and the impact it had on what'll be the rest of our lives, and our marriage, and I think even Cody's life. It's going to affect him forever, just in different ways. One of the things I really struggled with is recalling that night. And so that's kind of why I've been trying to figure out like how to write it down or how to say it. And I've talked to people about it and told them about it. And so obviously people know, but there's a big part of me that feels like my story is meant to help in a bigger picture. Somehow. I don't know what that is yet. So I kind of just wanted to like start documenting through video, I guess, some of the stories I have as I can remember them and tolerate talking about them. Oh gosh, this song. So the biggest one that I always struggle with is the night we were camping. We always went to, I think I'm going the right way. Here's one, god dang it, what the heck is it called? See, it's a lake on the Indian reservation in Shores, Nevada. So it's like 2.5 hours away from Reno. And we would go out there because you can buy just an absolute crap ton of fireworks and shoot them off yourself, and it's crazy fun. And it's not like a campground, so you basically just drive around this lake that's pretty empty as far as people go. It's beautiful, and just find a spot to camp. There's no like fire pits or grills or anything like that. You pack everything in and pack everything out. And we loved doing that. Gosh, it was so much fun, and the boys loved it. It was just like this sense of freedom that for a day or a weekend or whatever, you could just kind of let it all go and just be and not have to think. So the boys freaking loved it. I mean, they could run around like naked and totally crazy and not have to worry about everything. And we did. We told them when we went out there, do what you gotta do. Outside of safety, there's no rules. Just be safe, don't be stupid, and have some respect, of course. So 2018, we went for 4th of July weekend and had an absolute blast. Total blast. Everybody got along great. There was no issues. It was amazing. Totally amazing. It's so much fun. So we wanted to go back out again that summer. So the last weekend of July of 2018, so I think it was like the 28th and 29th, 27th, 28th, 29th that we went. Left on a Friday. I remember going to Rayleigh's before we left. I had to go to work early in the morning, and then I stopped at Rayleigh's on my way home, came home, and then we all kind of left together after that. I stopped at Rayleigh's. I think I even have a picture of it in my phone, to get drinks, and I had a whole basket full of beer and two big bottles of vodka, and I was drinking a lot at that time, and I kind of started realizing it around that time also. And I remember it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I could notice people were looking at me, and I kind of remember having the thought, this is weird. Like, maybe this is a little bit of a problem, but whatever, right? I mean, at that point, what are you gonna do? Like, put it back and say, okay, now I'm sober and I'm not going camping? No. You commit to it, you stick with it, and just attribute it to other people being stuck up or something other than normal and concerned. So we all drive out there. First day, super nice. We had a great time. So great. We were drinking and playing music. And at that point, I had gotten really great at cooking a super fun food on the little Weber grill that we would just put in the sand. And I would put a little camp chair by it and make, what did I make? Grilled cheese sandwiches, quesadillas, bacon, French bread pizzas. Like, I got real good at it. And it was delicious. So, tons of fireworks that night. We had a great freaking time. No issues. Went to bed totally fine. The next day, Cody's friends, Jeff and Megan, were going to come out and say hi because they have our old dog, Gunner, and we had our, at the time, dog, Daphne, and they had kind of grown up together, but we just couldn't take care of Gunner anymore, so his friends took Gunner, so they were going to come say hi to us, and we were going to reunite the dogs, and we were super excited. So I remember that morning getting up. Of course, we were hungover, not feeling good, whatever. It's funny, he always made jokes about how like camping is intense and like sex jokes about it, but we had never actually like had sex in a tent camping, and for whatever reason that morning we did, and it was just kind of funny. I don't know why I remember that. Weird little things like that stick out in my mind. So anyway, I think it was like a little bit before lunchtime I started drinking. And I wanted him to also, but he was like, no, it's too early. I'm not going to do that yet. Okay, whatever. So I was kind of irritated. Like, who wants to drink alone when they're out camping? It's a very lonely thing. Nobody wants to do. Well, I don't know. Maybe some people want to. I didn't. So we're sitting out there, whatever. Jeff and Megan show up. The dogs reunite. Super great. So funny. He starts drinking a little bit when they get out there. We're hanging out, having a great time. Playing music, going in the lake. I think we were doing like some of the fireworks, but the ones that you can do in the day, not the ones that you, I don't know, whatever. I don't know anything about fireworks. Gosh, see, this is what happens when you have trauma and your brain doesn't function anymore. Oh, so Jeff and Megan are out there. They've been out there for a couple hours, and all of a sudden, this SUV, this red SUV, shows up, and there's like nobody else out there, but they parked not too far from us, and there wasn't spots, but in what would have been the next logical camping spot next to us. I was irritated at first and looked at Cody, and he was like, what the hell? Why are they picking this spot, right? Like, we're the only people out here, and they're really going to come park by us. And they get out, and it's a bunch of Indians from the reservation. And they start being obnoxious, playing music. There's like, well, it feels like there's 700 little kids running around. Some other cars showed up, but they weren't like setting up tents or anything. It looked like they were just maybe having a birthday party. They were barbecuing and had cake, and I think they even sung happy birthday at one point. So we had decided and thought, okay, they're just gonna have this birthday party and then they're gonna leave and go home, no big deal. And Cody and I were in the lake floating around or throwing the football or something, and I remember him looking over there and being super uncomfortable and saying something to the effect of, I feel so outnumbered. And I was like, yeah, but at this point, what are we gonna do? We've been drinking, we have our whole camp set up. What are we gonna do? Like, pack it up and go somewhere else? Like, we were stuck. We were really stuck. And he had said, there were a couple of comments between us and Jeff and Megan back and forth about how it's kind of weird and uncomfortable. So Jeff and Megan left. Everything was fine for a while. Both of the camps kind of, as it got darker, settled down. So we couldn't really see them as much. And we proceeded with our night. No big deal. Music, fireworks. And gosh, that night, like, every once in a while when I'm drinking, I'll get in the mood where I like need to take 700 pictures and videos. And unfortunately, that was one of those nights. It's one I would rather not remember, but now I have video and photo evidence of for until I decide to delete them, which I don't think will be ever, to be really honest. So one of the telltale signs of when he was about to get out of control is he would just get this really creepy look in his eyes, and it was like actual Cody wasn't even there anymore. It was like a literal monster, as close to a monster as you could get in real life. And one of the pictures I have is actually right when I saw that switch in his eyes, and you can see it in the picture too. And it's one of those, God, is it a live photo or is it video? I can't remember. But you can kind of hear him getting aggravated with me. I wanted to take a selfie, but I was drunk, couldn't remember how to work my phone, was asking him how to do it, and he was not having it. He was there to party, not take selfies. So, because I had learned over so much time what that's like, I was like, okay, time to go to bed. So I learned how to like skate around, okay, it's time to go to bed, so that he didn't feel like he was pressured into that. He needed to feel like it was kind of his choice to actually do it and do it peacefully. So I managed that, and he said, you know, okay, I'm gonna just have one more beer and eat some dinner, and then I'll go to bed. So the boys and I went to the tent, got all situated, got all settled. And I don't really remember how long after that it was. It wasn't too long. And this is where it gets really patchy. But I remember waking up to him not yelling, but talking loudly. And it wasn't talking, it was rambling. And he wasn't talking to anybody. So it's like, okay, here's drunk Cody, you know, like pretty soon he'll pass out. Everything will be fine. Let him talk. Okay, so here's the thing. I remember some of the events, but my brain can't necessarily put them in order, what happened and when. So I want to say one of the people from the other camp came over to use the porta potty, which just so happened to be right where we were camping. So I'm sitting in the tent and I hear some kind of back and forth. I'm like, oh God, whatever. Finally hear the other, because they were driving a quad and he was irritated over the noise. So I think he said something and they said something back. They had some kind of exchange. And then they went back to their camp. And I was like, okay, go back to sleep. And then I started hearing him ramble about something again. And it was and some other parts of stories of things he'd been through in the war. So in my mind, I knew, like, okay, he's probably having a little bit of a flashback. Just stay quiet and stay away. So I'm sitting there like, okay, please, please, please. I mean, as close to praying as I can get at that point. I don't know. Just quiet, like hiding under the covers and quietly hoping if I pretend hard enough to be asleep, this will just go away. And it didn't. And he got up, and we were inside the tent, and he was outside the tent. And I can't remember what happened to set him off, but he started screaming at us, and God, I can't remember what he said. He said some pretty awful things to the boys about how their real dad didn't want them and wasn't there for them, and he was, and how great he was, and whatever. So that was super hard to hear. He said some things to me, which I can't remember, and at that point I know, like, okay, don't fight with him because it's only going to make it worse. So I just try and appease him and, okay, you're right, I'm sorry, just trying to go to sleep. And he just wants a fight. And I remember Corbin was laying up against the one side of the tent where Cody was standing. And it was that type of tent that has like the open net over the top of it so you could see the stars. So I was laying there and looking out, I could see the stars. I could kind of see him. Corbin was laying next to me up against the side of the tent, and he starts kicking the tent, what he thinks is the tent, hard and repeatedly, and he was actually kicking Corbin in the stomach. And after a while, the tent collapsed on us, and we were stuck inside. And of course I was drunk, so I was like super confused. And I think at that point somebody from the other camp came over on the quad because I could hear them, and there was some other exchange where she was telling him to leave us alone or something to that effect. I don't know. And she ended up leaving. And then what happened? Then I think I got out of the tent and I went over to their camp and asked them if they could come help me get the boys out. So they did. No. I got out of the tent somehow or another. I crawled out of the tent. And left the boys in there because I was like, I'm going to go check on Cody. See what the hell's going on. See if I can calm him down, get him to go to sleep. And fix whatever this tent situation is, so we don't suffocate. He's sitting in a chair down by the lake, just looking out on the lake, still rambling on. And I walked up to start talking to him, and he freaked out and jumped up out of his chair and grabbed his gun and pushed me up against his truck. He was sitting near his truck. Pushed me up against the side of his truck and held held the gun to my throat. And you didn't say anything. He was just staring right in my eyes with hate. You could just see it in his eyes, pure hatred. And I'll never forget, and this is the hardest part about the whole thing, I can hear my kids screaming at the top of their, as loud as they can scream. Like those screams you hear people talk about when they suddenly find out like somebody they love dies, and it's just, you scream with everything you have. And I can hear screaming, "Stop, please don't kill our mom, that's our mom, don't kill her." So he kind of snapped out of it for a second, long enough for me to get away and to get the boys out of the tent, and we ran over. I didn't know what else to do, so we ran over to the camp of the people next to us, and I told them what had just happened. I remember going over to their camp. There was a freaking shit ton of people over there. I don't even know how many. But of course, they're all drunk, and they're on their Indian reservation, so it's like, oh, hell no, you know, like, some white guy's not gonna come up in here and do that. So they, God, I hate how Apache this gets. The boys and I are sitting down in their camp there. They put the boys in one of their tents, and I think got them something to eat or drink, and there was a mom over there with the baby, and I think she went into the tent with them to try and just keep them calm. Total mama bear thing to do, which now I totally appreciate, because I was not in the space to be able to do that for them. My mama bear mode was getting them out of that situation, and I did, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I am far away from anybody or anything except for these people, so let's just hope this works out. So screaming and yelling starts to go back and forth, and then all of a sudden I see this group of guys jump in the back, like in the bed of their truck, and they have huge guns, a lot of them, and they get into like this wild west shootout. Well, they didn't shoot, but standoff, I guess, with Cody. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life. One of the other ladies, I think, was like up on this little hill, and she was on the phone, and I finally realized that she had called the police. And of course they start saying, oh yeah, it's our cousin, our brother, mother, uncle, whatever, they're on their way, they'll be here soon, just keep them in your sights. And then one of the other younger guys that was there said, hey, so-and-so, the cops are coming, put your guns away, you have a warrant out. So it was just like very strange, very fast. But it felt like an eternity. I wish I actually knew how long it was. And then finally I see they said, oh, they're here, but you can't, I couldn't see or hear anything. They're like, they're up on the mountain, or on the hill, it wasn't a mountain. But they don't have their lights or anything on. So I look over and I see that Cody's truck had started and was pulling away. I remember he had always talked about he's never going to jail again, he's never getting arrested again, and if he ever gets in a situation like that, it's gonna be a shootout and he'll go out death by cop, basically. And I was convinced that's what was gonna happen. So I see him pulling out. They say the cops are there, I can't see them. All of a sudden I see them hit the lights. Cop car lights everywhere. Not flashlights, but spotlights or whatever they have. I was like, okay, here we go. I'm about to watch somebody get murdered. And it's probably going to be my husband. And all I could do was just sit there. There's nothing I could do. So I'm watching him go up this hill, and the second the cop car lights turn on, he like pulled off a little bit. It was on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, and finally like shut the truck off. And I'm like, God, I didn't hear any shots or screaming or anything. That part kind of gets black. And then they're up there dealing with him. One of the cops brings the car down the hill to where we were at to talk to the boys and I. And took us back up the hill to where all the other cop cars were. And I remember getting up there. And it was dark, but the cop cars everywhere. And all I could see was, like, off in the shadow, him getting put in the back of a cop car. And the lady officer who put him in the back of the car came over to talk to the other cop or to me or something. I can't remember. And all I could do was scream, like, please let me see him. Please, 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 can I just see him for a second? And they wouldn't let me. I just screamed over and over, please let me see him. God, it was excruciating. And she told me he's getting arrested tonight and we're gonna take him to jail. But I briefly remember her saying to Hawthorne, so we took him and the boys and I were sitting in one of the cars. There was, I don't even know how many cops were there. I'm sitting in the driver's seat of this cop car in like the pitch black, because they had all turned their lights off by this point. And all I could see was like the reflection of tons of bugs swarming around the car. So we were sitting in the car because of that. And then I see all the people from the other camp are filling statements. I'm sitting in the driver's seat and I look over and I notice that the cops are interviewing the kids with nobody else there. And they didn't ask me or tell me. So then your mama bear mode turns on again. So the cop came over to me and asked me to write a statement. Like, they asked me a bunch of questions. I can't even tell you how long the questioning was. And they wanted me to write a statement, and I just froze. Like, the weight of that was so heavy, because once you write something down on paper, that doesn't go away. And so I was stuck. Like, do I write the truth? Do I fudge the truth to protect my husband? And then the other part of my brain is like, I don't even know what just happened. And I was still intoxicated at that point. Like, at that point I had been drinking for probably, almost 2 solid days. So I wrote the statement, and everybody's getting everything all wrapped up, and they said, okay, what do you want to do? So he had his truck there. I had my car at the parking lot up by the top of the lake. There's like a parking area when you first get there. Several miles away down a dirt road, mind you. We had all of our stuff. I mean, I don't even know how much thousands of dollars worth of camping stuff. And the tent was smashed. They're like, well, you can stay here for the night and figure it out tomorrow. Or you can take the truck and follow us back to the road and go home. And I was like, I didn't want to stay because you just want out of that situation. Not to mention the fact that they're gonna leave me out there essentially alone. So the one cop that was mainly dealing with me looked at me and he's like, well, you've been drinking, right? I said, oh yeah, of course. He said, when was the last time you had a drink? I said, I don't know, hours ago, probably. He said, oh, okay, well, if it was hours ago, then you're fine. You should drive home. I said, well, what if I get pulled over? Like, I was not in any condition to drive, emotionally or physically. He's like, it's okay, I'll make sure nothing happens. I'll call, or I don't know. He insinuated that he was gonna call and like give somebody a heads up that I was going to be drunk driving with my 2 kids 2.5 hours. So I was like, okay, we gotta leave. I said, well, can you help me get our stuff? He said, well, we've been out here for hours, and we really need to get out of here because all of our officers are on overtime. We called people in from their days off, so we'll give you a few minutes. So my brain just went into survival mode. Okay, personal belongings, my purse, medication, personal clothing items, the dog, we had the dog, and the kids, like blankets and pillows. So I'm down in the camp trying to find stuff, gather up what I could, and realized bunch of stuff of ours into the lake. One of those things was my purse and everything that was in it. So I realized that, and I told the one cop I had been dealing with, hey, he threw my purse in the lake. I can see it out there floating around. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. One of the other cops that was there kind of overheard that. He's like, well, let me go see what I can do. So bless his heart. He went down there and took his clothes off and jumped in the lake and got as much of my stuff as he could manage to see and find in the middle of a dark lake, and brought it back to me, and it was all soaking wet. So all I had was his truck at the campsite, so I started shoving everything I can into that truck, including the 2 kids and the dog, our 90-pound dog. Get as much as I can. They're like ready to leave. This lady cop said, I said, I don't know how to get back to the parking place. Like there's a million dirt roads to get back there. I don't know which one to take. She's like, okay, well, you can follow me. Okay, fine, whatever. And she starts hauling ass through these dirt roads. Like, I am shaken up. I have kids that are like confused and tired. At that point, it was like 4 in the morning. And she just starts hauling ass, like, no concern for anything in the world. So I had to just, like, all I could do was keep up with her. I couldn't see anything. I remember being so scared that I was gonna crash. And I finally see up ahead where the parking place is, where my car was. I was like, okay, we're gonna stop. She's gonna help me. We're gonna put stuff in my car. Whatever. And she just kept driving. So I pulled into the parking thing by myself, and I don't know why I decided to switch to my car instead of the truck. I'm not really any idea. But I switched everything over to my car, got on the road, and there was one point and Landon in the driver's seat next to me, and Corbin was in the back. I'm pretty sure Corbin fell asleep, but Landon was awake. And we were probably about halfway home. And I was doing everything I could to stay awake. And I kind of drifted off to sleep a little bit, like veered into the wall. And Landon screamed. And by some freaking miracle, we made it home. I remember being at the car or at the campsite or something. I was trying to call his parents. And this was like, now that I look back, this is an indication of either how intoxicated I was or how just a mess my brain was. I could not figure out how to get my phone to call their phone. I'd called them a million times. I could tell you their phone number. And they're in a contact in my phone. There was like no reason that I couldn't figure out how to call them. I couldn't do it. So we get home, put the boys in their beds, and I think I slept for a little bit. Or no, I finally figured out how to call his parents. His dad answered, and I kind of told him what happened. I said, look, and his truck's like out at the camp place still, and I don't know what what to do. I can't go get it. I'm only one person. And by the way, I just made this 2.5-hour drive a few minutes ago. So he said, okay, well, I'll come out to the house. I'll grab the truck keys. I'll have Lisa take me out to the spot where his truck is, and I'll drive his truck back to the house. Like, okay. So I got off the phone with him and fell asleep. Woke up to him, like, banging on the door. And he came in for a second, but I don't think we really said much of anything, because really, what are you supposed to say? And at that point, I was still just in complete and total shock. I'd been up for well over 24 hours at that point. And I went back to sleep. And I remember waking up maybe like around noon, 1 o'clock. And it was totally one of those, people always like, oh yeah, I woke up and I felt like it was a dream. Which seems a little dramatic, but I woke up and I was convinced that it was a dream. So my brain like tried processing, tried remembering. Went and checked on the boys. They got up a little bit later. I didn't really know what to say. I mean, what do you say to your kids after something like that? I think I asked if they were okay. And Corbin said he was really sad. I said, okay, you know, what's up? Like an idiot, what's up, of course. And I remember him looking me in the eye and just saying, I'm so sad that he's gone, because Cody is the only dad I've ever had. God, and my heart shattered. Because at that point, none of us knew where he was. If he was dead, if he was alive, if we were ever going to see him again. So at some point later that afternoon, I was like, okay, I need to figure out where he's at. I'm going to start another video because I need to figure out if I need a turn soon. And I think this one's almost an hour long. So we'll continue